All right, so let's just jump in. So this at our last PLC, which was it's called the APLC Professional Collaborative Communities. There was two main things that came out, three. One was this notion of a resource that will allow people to different ways of starting class, ways of making teams, and wrapping up. So that's been a big part of my work over the last month here. But there was something that I was trying to finish up along the way. So our first part of this call is going to be going through a resource that I built to support the reflection, the planning, the CUSPs that were easily done with discussion and journaling. So we've been talking a lot about the power of journaling within our phys ed classes over the last couple of months. So for those of you who don't know me, you've probably read my bio. I've been teaching for a long time, had the privilege of working with so many of the great phys ed teachers in the province when I was a young teacher. I've presented across the province at teachers' conventions for the last 25 years. And I was invited to lead the implementation for this new physical education and wellness curriculum. So first thing I do, always want to take the time to acknowledge that we are all on traditional territories in Alberta, of the many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. So we actually covered Treaty 6, 7, 8, and a tiny little piece of Treaty 10 as well. So as a physical educator, the snow is here. We were doing some circle Blackfoot games out on our field. I always just want to anchor us back to that. So because we have a few people here who are new, I'm just going to do a really quick rundown of some of the work I did last year. So this new phys ed and wellness curriculum has been given, there's a lot of really good things about it, and there have been some negative kind of comments about it. The thing I love about this curriculum is that we actually, for the first time in this province, we get a whole picture in one package. So yes, they've combined a bunch of curriculums, and that's changed how we work in the gym. I know we have some people on the call who are facing that right now. But this whole notion that if we can start to cross over those character cusps, the safety cusps, the relationship cusps, there's an amazing opportunity to really start to build that holistic wellness. Right, which includes that physical, mental, emotional, and the spiritual. In CBE, we have a beautiful Indigenous holistic lifelong learning framework that specifically talks about those four things. The other thing is that when I was brought on, my big task was to help educators, especially generalists, move from taking recess breaks and physical activity breaks to getting back to teaching physical activity and physical education with skills, with teamwork, with all of those embedded juicy bits that, the specialists have kind of dwelt with for forever. My big thing is to help build teacher skills. I've had the privilege, as I said, with working with lots of people. I've taught grade 1 to grade 12 in almost every every subject you can imagine. I was an elementary generalist for 6 years, and I've taught all the way up to the high school. The other thing is that for me, my whole career has been on the art of teaching physical education and wellness. So what are the things that simplify? What are the things that make it more efficient? And to be honest, let's just realize that when we're teaching phys ed, it's just fun. A couple of quick things that from last year, will this let me go into this? Yeah, it will. So I'm just going to drop into the APLC, which is becoming an incredible resource. They've redone the website. So this is one of 5 series I did last year. This series I put together because the new curriculum has a lot of specific manipulation skills. And what we discovered through our calls last year is that a lot of our generalists and even some of our specialists coming out who might not have been extensively trained in phys ed didn't really know how to help kids move forward. So I did it's about a 9 video series. Each one is about 15 minutes, but one talks about throwing, we got catching, right? Kicking, all of these different videos take you through the full progression with resources, so you can quickly analyze, well, none of my kids actually know how to throw with opposition. So this is one of 5 series that are currently on the APLC website. So I always like to draw people's attention to that as well. There we go. Yep, so that's a lot of that stuff. There's a full physical education pedagogy session. So if you're brand new to teaching or if you're a generalist and you're like, man, I feel awkward in the gym, that 8 video series will give you all the tools in a pretty condensed way that it took me years to figure out. All right. And again, I always just like to do a quick overview of the OIs because this is what we're being asked to track, assess, teach. I mentioned it in a few of my calls and videos that what I find really challenging is that in Calgary, we have 2 report card stems. Those 2 report card stems are supposed to stand for, what's it, almost 70 different cusps in the grades. So how do we manage that? How do we manipulate that? How do we track it so we're not burning ourselves out for those 2 report card stems? And again, just if if you're not really familiar with the curriculum, this is a snapshot of how it's laid out. When I started analyzing this curriculum about a year now, well, almost 2 years now, the thing that really struck me was that I was struggling to track and move through things because there wasn't the underlying framework. So part of the work that I've done last year was to actually overlay an entire numbering system like we used to have with the old curriculum. So for example, active living is a 1. And I went through the entire curriculum cusp by cusp. So you'd have like a 1.1, a 1.2, and a 1.3. And if you're curious about that, I can direct you to some other videos as well. Okay, so one of the biggest sessions I did, well, the session I did last time was all about tracking students. So this is a resource that I've just finished, and this will be on the APLC. But last month, what we ended up talking about was how can we quickly get a snapshot on how kids are doing, how they're feeling as a group and individuals. So I just want to show you kind of where it started and where it is now. So challenges in tracking students. This is my new framework. And hopefully it looks a little fancier. I'm trying to be a little more professional with what I'm doing. And the one thing I want to pause here is this, the magnetic numbers. We were talking about quickly getting an idea of how kids felt or what they wanted to do or how much effort did they put into the class. And last session, I had talked about using magnetic popsicle sticks, having their names on it, having their pictures, but I've hacked it and I've been using this. So off Amazon, I bought some magnetic numbers. They go 1 to 50. And just by having kids move the magnets around a whiteboard that has a scale on it, game changing. And the cool thing is with those numbers is that now each kid has a number based on their attendance. I know we're reducing them to a number, but sometimes we just got to do it. But the cool thing is that now I could say, okay, anyone who wants to play competitive, put your magnet on this side. If you want to play rec on the other side. This one little shift has gotten kids pretty stoked because at the end when we do, can you just rate your effort? All they have to do is move their magnet around and then they're off. Okay, so that's the one thing I wanted to highlight. This is I think it's about a 8-page document. So again, I'll put a link into this for this session as well, so you can take a look. The thing that I'm so excited about, and I hope people can use this resource, because there's so many of the cusps that ask us to have kids reflect or to plan or to identify or to develop. It's really hard to do that stuff in the gym. And as a result, what I did last month is that I vetted all of the cusps. So I went back through the entire curriculum and looked for all of the cusps that dealt with, where is it here? Oh, I don't even have it on there. Anyway, I pulled them all out. Okay. And what I was asked to do from the collaborative community was to create a resource that would give teachers a really quick reference for journaling questions and like discussion prompts. So I do a lot of discussion, like small discussions in my phys ed classes, and especially in my wellness classes. So over the last month, I've been finalizing this after I got some feedback. And this is a big document, okay? And I'm not going to lie, it's about 56 pages. However, I've got it all hot synced here. So if we're taking a look at, there's vocabulary. So it has a whole bunch of stuff embedded in it for your benefit, right? So it's got an overview of each of the OIs. Here, this is some vocabulary that you can look at and embed. But then when we get to specific, so there's even ELA links. So I know some people are looking for that. But here it is. So here's kindergarten. So once you pull up the kindergarten and active living, at the top, it's going to have the OI, so active living, and then it will have the 1 or 2, sometimes 6 different cusps that we can do through discussion. So for example, in this one, kindergarten, it says, discuss how rest allows the body to recover from physical activity. And here they are. Okay, so if you're sitting around with kids, so what does it feel like? What does your body feel like after you run, jump, and play? Can you show with your face and body what it feels like if you're really tired after playing? So I've gone through every grade, every cusp, and given you between 1 and 4 questions that you can pull out or even to use as like inspiration to then go on and do your own stuff. Have viewed most of it. Oh, thank you, Taylor. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. It's good to know someone's watching them.
It was actually really good because, again, even just the little things like in terms of where they should be putting their feet and things like that.
Yeah, right. Like it's stuff that I can't, it's hard to find that. Like, so I just thought, you know what, let's do it. And now it's there for everyone. But no, I really appreciate that. So again, there's probably almost like 20 hours invested into this one resource. But the reason I'm so excited about it is because it really does. I want to go to the grade 5 one here. Grade 5, healthy eating. Oh, and that's, sorry, this is still in draft form. Let me just drop down to grade. Anyway, so you can see like each grade has about 8 pages. So this is just grade 2. I'm going to zip down here. There we go. So in this one, here it is. Let me just find out what grade this one is. There it is, grade 4. So in grade 4, what you'll notice is that as the grades get higher, the character development and the safety get pretty big. So in safety, one of my favorite things that I started to go down the rabbit hole of is, so this one here is 3. So examine how responsibility can impact safety in variety of situations. So what responsibilities do you have when you're playing games with others? How can your actions keep everyone safe? Okay, that's just a quick journal and a journal question. Or for me, I would just zip that around in groups of 3 after a day. Talk about it. Does anyone have any ideas? So we're building the awareness of that. And as a teacher, I can then go back to my tracking and say, yeah, we covered this question. These kids answered it. Am I grading them on their answer? Not really, right? Because these things are about an awareness. Can you think of a YouTube clip of someone doing something unsafe? Still editing that. Describe the video. What are some risks that person took? If it did not go well, what could have happened? So these little things started to come out while I was working with this document that, again, could become these amazing projects that I'm going to start to build out for the next resource that I'm going to do. So this is, I just wanted to show you this because this is what I was promising people I would have. It goes right up to financial literacy as well. Okay, so this has every OI, every cusp that you could think of where we could pull some of those pieces. Okay, so I'm stoked about it. I'll be sending this out in PDF form. And I just hope it serves people because it's already been kind of a game changer for me. It's been kind of neat to work through. So just before I move on, does anyone have any kind of quick questions, especially people who are kind of have 1 or 2 people who are new here? Any questions about that before I jump into what I was going to talk about today? So I'm in
Paul, we get just for being part of the Zoom call, we'll get these in our emails, right?
100%.
Awesome,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So what I've started to do is I'll create a summary document and I'll have a link to all of the documents I'm showing you, and they'll actually force you to copy one into your inbox or into your Google Drive.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if so, the other thing is that if you're working with this and you're like, this is awesome, and you would just want the hard editable copy, like it's yours. Just send me an email and I'll just give it to you. Okay. The cool thing about this is that if you can print off your you can print off your grade that you're working with, especially if you're a generalist. And as you ask, like, so me being the nerd, this first one that's 3.1, these first questions are just for this one cusp. And then you go down to number 2, that's the second cusp, third cusp. So while you go, you can actually check these things off right as you go. So that way, you know, you've actually covered that cusp as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. The other cool thing that I've started to put together, because of the rabbit hole I went down, was that document is specifically for journaling. So it doesn't take a look at some of our other assessments. So for example, these are the projects I'm working on. Where is this one? Unit goal setting. So these are the other documents that I'm starting to build for people, because the gift of journaling, 5 minutes of journaling at the start of a unit, allows you to get an idea of why students are feeling the way they are. So something like this for a basketball, they pick 3 activities that they want to improve on. How do you feel about starting the basketball unit? That's a question that we often don't ask kids in phys ed. Traditionally in phys ed, we don't do writing. And what I've learned over the last 5 years is that that was a miss. That was a miss, because especially now, the way kids have changed, the students' brains, they need to write to be vulnerable and honest. There are very few kids who are going to put their hand up and say, I don't want, I had this happen to me just the other day. A student in my class wasn't participating in basketball. So I said, hey, just come on over here, just have a seat with me. I was like, what's going on? Like, you're in grade 9, we have to get you through phys ed 10. She said, I don't like playing basketball in front of other people. I'm self-conscious about it. So we had a little talk about it. But if I had started my unit with something like this, she would have told me that ahead of time. I guarantee it. Because kids want to tell you why they're not participating, but we often don't have the time to find that. Okay, so this is just an example of some of the samples I'm doing for goal setting. So at the end of the activity, they just write a little reflection on each of the skills. Was there any other skills? Self-evaluate. This is my favorite one. I've been using this thing for over 15 years. I just modified it. So every month we do a quick self-eval. So it's just a scale, 1 to 5. Like, how do you feel? How's your interaction? Again, to help kids realize that what they're doing, and are they happy with it, or would they like to change? While I'm in here, I'm going to show you a quick grade 1 project that I built out. So this is a little mini project based on outcome 1.4. And so it has prompts. It'll give you some questions, give you a couple more prompts, and then it'll end up with a plan. So kids will set a quick plan, and then you do a check-in, and then at the end we have a follow-up. So this could take like 3 or 4 sessions if you're a generalist. I even have it where you can draw. So our kids who are non-rate readers, there's a way for them to actually draw this kind of stuff. So it's just, instead of finding ways where we can't, this is kind of a neat way to go about it. This is a fun one I was just playing around with. So this is a research project for grade 6 finance. It's about a 5-day time frame, about 45 minutes each. So as I was building this out, it just asked them different presentation modes. There's some research components to it, right? So this is kind of where I'm heading based on some of the stuff that I've been asked to do. Anyway, so that was my big month's worth of work. In addition, we have a new month. So this is the resource that I've been building. And it looks like most of us are phys ed. Okay, so, and if I'm wrong in that, if anyone's a generalist, if you want to just throw that into the chat real quick. But it looks like most of us are, like Brittany, are you a phys ed? Are you a phys ed specialist? Phys ed, okay, awesome. All right, so one of the interesting things is, so if anyone's a phys ed specialist, same thing. Are you working with any generalists who are also teaching phys ed, either by voice or by chat? Okay. I'll assume some people are. If not, that's okay. So these resources, as you can see, are built for specialists who are looking to move forward and to really dive into these cusps. Now, would I cover every one of the cusps in my discussion? Absolutely not. Okay, I'm not going to be doing those discussions every day. I have 40-minute time blocks. It's not a lot. So I really like to maximize activity time. I mean, right. Yeah, Cameron. Yeah. Fantastic. So these resources that I've built, I'm an art major. Oh, fantastic. Oh yeah, Taylor, right. Awesome. Um, these resources are really there as like a go-to. They're a quick check-in. They're I need a new idea. So yeah, so oh, you have 60 minutes. That's amazing. Yeah, so you would have some time to do some of this fun stuff too. So one of the key things here is different ways to start class, especially in elementary. Some of the teachers that I've worked with over the past, the starting of phys ed has literally been kids come in and they're already running. And there's nothing wrong with laps. Don't get me wrong, still use them. I think they're great. But when laps become the only thing we're doing, I personally think we've missed an opportunity, especially with how many cusps we have to hit. So this resource, there we go, is about starting classes, making teams, and wrapping things up. Now I have, because I've had a few K-3 teachers, when they're in here, they talk about how what I'm talking about isn't as relevant. So I've really tried to break that down a little bit more. Oh, coincidentally, one of the other things that is part of the resource of the journaling and discussions is I have also included some chat GTP routes for anyone who uses that. I'm not a fan. I use it to flush things out and sometimes to gather some information. But for elementary teachers who have non-readers, I have some scripts that I've tested. So you can just copy my questions that I've written, drop them into chat GTP after the route, and it will give you images. So you actually get pictures that kids can do multiple choice for. The other big thing I'm working on for February is the notion of language. So there are so many schools that have language problems right now. So I've also have some scripts there that will also help you translate some of the key questions into, let's say you've got 11 languages. I figured out a way where it will give you a translation of that question into 11 different languages. I don't know how accurate they are, but that's what I'm working on now with a couple of other APL leaders. Okay, so I'm not going to read this. I'm not just going to sit here and read this to you because you're phys ed teachers, but I want you to see some other opportunities. And if you have some other ideas when I'm talking, please just jump on the mic and share with us because that's the biggest thing. Okay, I'm not the expert here. I'm still boots on the floor. I'm still slugging away day in, day out, like all of you are as well. So I just have to write the introduction to this and then it's good to go. So for example, this is my K-3. So warm-ups, I think the longer phys ed goes on, what starts to happen is that warm-ups become something that we get kids to do so we can get organized. And again, nothing wrong with that. So I'm still using that method from time to time. But I want to go through a couple of ideas that may be new, maybe a little different. In the making teams, there are a few of these games that allow us to actually go right into teams without having to stop, right? They're already kind of pre-built in. So OG tag, we all know what OG tag is, original tag. This new thing here, I learned this up in Beaver Lodge when I was running a session called double tag, just these little tiny things. So if a kid can't tag anyone, they call double tag. Someone high tens them, and now they're both it until they tag someone, right? Super quick. I think we often underestimate the power of tag because if you look at our cusps, it actually hits every one of our spatial awareness cusps. You can cover that whole section just by playing tag up to about grade 4, well, grade 3 because of the tactics, right? If you've seen any of my videos on truck and trailer, that's still my number one go-to game. So follow the leader, animal walks, anyone who teaches elementary, this is nothing new to you. Again, many of these are written for the elementary generalist who's never had any training in physical education. So we're just giving them some ideas to kind of move through. Shape stretching, right? That's, again, nothing new. Mindful breathing and stretching. One of my biggest focuses over the last well, probably 8 years, has been to get kids up to almost 80% exertion, but at the same time, get them back down to zero. So sometimes we'll actually start with a relaxation exercise right as our warm-up. Why? Because a lot of times, especially our little kids, they come into the gym and they go like, something happens to the brain. There's a switch that goes off and they kind of go a little crazy. So sometimes if we bring them right down, we can give instructions way faster while they're in a state of relaxation. Say, okay, go get your equipment. You know what you're doing, go. Right. So again, I'm always trying to find a way to balance that mindfulness versus the high level activity. If I have any dancers here, you might know across the floors. So across the floors, when I taught dance, it's how you warm up for dance, but it's also a beautiful way for a phys ed class, especially elementary. I'm starting to see more movements, more dance movements, more gymnastic type movement come back into the classes. But this notion of we put on some music and we let kids move. So across the floors, basically you're doing diagonals across the gym, then they walk to the other corner and we do a diagonal. So you're doing X's. And you can either pick like 6 kids to lead it, or you can go through your whole class. They will be exhausted because basically it's follow the leader across to the diagonal and they walk over, new leader, we go again. Has anyone seen the, again, either vocally or on the chat, has anyone seen the tennis ball resource that came out from Everactive like 15 years ago?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
You have seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's even there anymore, but this is like one of their little big books. And it's brilliant, especially in elementary, because they have a way of numbering and labeling tennis balls. So you can do relays, you can do literacy, you can do math with these things. But I have 3 buckets that have between 40 and 60 tennis balls. And with little kids, a couple of things we're always looking for and I'm looking for in warm up. That's safety. How do they move and are they aware? And if you dive into those, I've got a kid playing drums on my wall. If you dive into the Awesome. If you dive into the CUSPs for the active living and also into the movement, that's pretty much what we're trying to do, is to get them safe running around. So this is a really interesting thing. All you do is you have them stand with their backs on the wall and you huck the tennis balls out and you time them. And then you try and beat their time again. I have them count the balls as they come in, starting in grade 2, kindergarten, grade 1, doesn't work so well. But this also gives you the opportunity to have a really quick discussion with the group after they've done it, because we're all around the bucket, and say, okay, what strategy worked? What didn't work? Were there any challenges? How many people spent their time picking up 10 balls instead of 1, which is faster? So just that one activity, the number of like reflection and refining and tactical questions you can ask is huge. I once had a team do it really fast, and I said, okay, by the end of the week, you have to cut your time in half. And you know what? They got pretty close. So again, warm-ups can also be a way to start to build anticipation as well. Throwing and catch, again, I'm not going to read all of these. They're pretty straightforward, but can we embed some of our skills into that warm-up instead of just having them run laps? Okay, reflective warm-ups. This is something that I haven't heard a lot of people doing. So instead of having kids run to get cardiovascular warmed up, can we get them into teams or partners as soon as they get into the gym? And even if they know what they're going to play, can we have them start thinking about that unit? For example, what strategies have they ever played it before? What experience do they have? In groups of 2 and 3, as they come into the class, now they're already starting to think strategically about what is it. Now, in elementary, lower kids, you might think, well, they won't have anything. But if you say, we're going to play tag, partner tag, maybe they don't even know what it is. Have them come up with some rules for that while they're walking around. Maybe it's 1 or 2 laps, or maybe they're stretching, maybe they're jogging. It doesn't really matter, but is there ways to start to embed some like communication interaction around physical education even before we start? This one I do want to highlight because this one is interesting. This is called Find a Group of. So again, if you have kids moving around the space, just have them come in and say, okay, guys, I want you to move around until I give you a signal. Lots of different ideas on signals. I won't go into that. So they're just walking around. You say, okay, find a group of 3 people. So they find a group of 3 people. Now, once they're there, now we give them a task. One of the things you'll see throughout this resource is I really encourage people to be unpredictable. We don't want kids to start to predict our movements because then it gets boring, it gets dry. They kind of know what to expect. So you say, okay, with your group, make a triangle. So they lay down, make a triangle, then they get moving again. This time, make a group of 6. They find a group of 6. Can you spell out the word? So we're combining a lot of those like silver bullet type games, if you're familiar with that. The other neat thing is that if you're a generalist and you are teaching your kids phys ed, have them now jogging. You can introduce different ways of moving. So they can be jogging around, find a group of 2 people or find a partner. They find a partner. You say, great, what are the 5 sections of, or what are the 4 stages of the water cycle? So they're actually going to do some academic recall. They get going again. So it's bring them in, bring them out, bring them in, bring them out. My favorite question lately has to do with the word unhealthy foods. So we have healthy foods, but we have foods we actually call unhealthy foods. So the question for me now is, why would you eat a food if it's called unhealthy? So this one, again, like the improvisational opportunities for here, this is when teaching phys ed becomes fun for me. This is what lights me up because now I have to be on watching the group and seeing what we can do. Right. So, anything to add to that for little kids? Anyone do any other like super fun warm-ups that I don't have in that list that you can think of? Especially my specialists there. Not off the top of the head. All right, well, think about it. Think about it, because I cannot like I'll add those in here too, right? And again, I hope this isn't too basic and boring for you guys. A lot of specialists here. So if I'm going too slow, let me know and we can get into some of the other Q&As as well. Okay, so this is another big piece for me is making teams. Um, I'm sometimes I'll make statements that I know are pretty bold, and it's not everyone agrees with me, and that's fine. I'm gonna speak it. I'm gonna speak my truth. My biggest thing with teams, partly because when I was a kid, I was not very athletic. I was not very popular, and I was that kid, right? That typical story. I was that kid who often got picked last, even though I could do the stuff, right? I was decent, but so for me, a lot of the research is really clear now that having kids pick teams in phys ed is not great. Okay. It's just damaging to so many parts of their little sensitive egos and judgment and their comparison. The other big thing now that I've been getting from some of my colleagues is to really avoid gender groupings, especially with our shifts in gender identity and sexual orientation. So in physical education, the more we can break down those barriers, the better. So that's my piece. If you're using captains and it works for you, fantastic. Keep doing it, right? It's just one of the things that I stopped doing probably 20 years ago, and I feel better about it. That's just what it comes down to. So a couple ideas for making teams. Number one, we often forget, or I often have forgotten in phys ed, that there's more ways to do things non-verbally. So for example, I have a bunch of colored popsicle sticks. I throw them in a bucket when I know how many kids are coming in. I actually have a bucket per class. If I'm doing 4 groups or if I'm doing 6 teams, I'm usually doing 4 to 6 teams in certain groups. And as a kid walks in, they grab a popsicle stick and they carry that around for their warm-up if we're not doing something that has to do with like a manipulation of an object, right? As soon as we're done warm up, it's like, okay, find everyone with your popsicle stick. Someone bring the sticks to me. There's our teams. You can do that with cards. You can do it with all kinds of stuff, right? As you come in, you sort your cards out. They're a little slow. That's the only thing. I've also seen, this is a cool thing. I had one school who bought a whole bunch of rubber wristbands. So they would lay them out and teachers would just grab how many they needed. And that's how they did it. Again, popsicle sticks are awesome. Here it is. Numbered magnet magic. I tell you, this thing is unbelievable. I cannot believe what it's done for me. So what I do is I have all my numbers on my magnetic whiteboard. And if I want to make random groups, all I do is while I get the kids in their warm up, I put a square that has team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, and I just put the numbers in those groups. I'm done. I'm a big fan of random grouping. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I would prefer my groups are totally random because my strong students, my really athletic kids, their job is not to be the star in my class ever, not in physical education. On the teams, push it. But in my gym, I want them to improve in skill, in leadership, in cooperation, and in understanding, and in coaching. They're going to be my coaches, right? Names, yeah. So this is just numbering. My big thing here is that before you number students off, tell them where they're going to go. Even better, get a kid, pick them, say, John, you're number 1, go in that corner. They hold up that hand, right? So again, these are little things. Everyone knows how to number teams off, but there's an art to that. And as you get better at the art, your conflicts and the downtime becomes less. Also, I make up names way better. Numbers get really boring, so use different animals, fruit, pizza. Today I used, what did I use? I used crappy breakfast restaurants. So we had IHOP, Denny's, and a few others, Smitty's and Waffle House. And they might not be crappy, but yep, fantastic. Thanks on that. Okay, so the other thing is that when you're numbering, if you are going to number, so you got your kids in a line, avoid being predictable again. Why? Because your smart kids are going to stand 4 apart. You've seen it happen, and sometimes we just let them be on the same team. No, be unpredictable. If you don't want them on the same team, change up the counting. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Next day, go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Whatever it is, make it a bit of a game. Remember, phys ed's fun. Okay? We don't need to be predictable with it. Anyway, so those are different ways to number. And again, really common way to do it, but there's an art to doing it so kids don't beat your system. In elementary, if you want to have a lot of fun, print off, let's say you need 4 or probably 6 teams in elementary. You don't want teams bigger than 3 usually. So you print off like 3 pictures of the same animal, just little ones. If you can get them laminated, that's awesome. Or if you have fancy cricket, is cricket that thing that prints thing? I don't know. If you can get little images of like 6 different animals, and all you do is you give the pictures to the kids or they pick them, and they're not allowed to show anyone, but they have to use the sound of the animal to find their team. Hilarious. That's for my enjoyment. That's what that one's for. But once they have their things, one of the kids, again, listen carefully, one of the kids brings me all the pictures. So again, I'm not going around to pick stuff up. Okay. You may have used this one before, partner pick and divide. So this is where you have kids warming up. Maybe they're doing a partner stretch and you say, okay, pick an A and a B or apple and orange or whatever you want. You want to be Ontario and Nova Scotia if you're doing provinces in your social studies class. And once they have that, then sometimes you keep them together and others you say, okay, all the A's on this side, all the B's on that side. So you can split them up. And sometimes you keep them together. Right? So now you have 2 teams really quick. You didn't have to number. And then the kids will be like, oh, I wanted to be with them. That's the kind of stuff we're going for. Oh, this is an interesting one. Like half of the world likes olives and half doesn't. So I try that always once and it usually works. So like olives don't. Shoe in the middle. Again, if your kids can't tie shoes, don't do this. This is an OG technique. It means that a kid has to take off their shoe. If you know how to play pickup hockey, you know how to do this. Take a shoe off, throw it in the middle, make some groups, done. The one thing I do want to talk about quickly about balancing teams is this is a really tricky situation because let's say I've got 2 teams. One is really strong, one is not doing so well. And I go, John, can you switch with Tim? Tim knows that he's moving over because he's not good and probably doesn't have much to contribute to his team. So again, just like it's an old school thing to just switch one kid. And in this current day and age, even in elementary, we do have to be careful of the messaging that we're sending these kids, because we don't need to be the top athlete to enjoy moving around. So a couple of keys to that is it's better to move a lot of kids quickly instead of just two, or even just stop and remake teams. Kids don't need to know why you're doing it, but you could go like you and you switch, you and you switch. From that team, you guys switch, you guys switch, you guys switch. And so now what you've done is you've created this notion that it doesn't matter what team you're on or who you're switching with. Okay. So classic lap warm-up. This is actually my number one way of making teams with older grades. So if I know I'm going to be doing a big playing day and I want balanced teams, that can actually play pretty competitively. What I'll do is I'll have them run a couple of laps, and as the kids come in, you just number from there. So your strong, fast kids, your top athletes are generally going to come in first. So if there's 4 of them running, there's your first 4. The other thing it does is it splits up the students who generally are not motivated to participate, not as skilled, because they're generally moving together. So if they come in together, I know they're going to be split, and they're going to have some stronger people to help support them. Okay. The last one in this section is the wrap up. So again, this is primarily for the K to 3. So importance of cool down and closing class is, especially in the K to 3, it's actually really important in my experience, because if we send kids back kind of hyped up from a game or like a tag game, whatever it is, it's going to take that teacher quite a while to calm them down. And the walk back isn't generally enough. The other thing, if they've just stopped running and their heart's just going, they're still kind of in that fight or flight mode, that walk is probably not going to settle them down, right? So physically and emotionally, they're not actually ready to go back, especially in the younger kids. What happens is that if any conflict happens in that class, that's going to transfer in. So again, nothing too groundbreaking here, but stretch and share. I love doing think, pair, share. Used to be such a big thing. I don't know really what's happened to it, but ask kids to share with a small group, a team, if they're with a team. It gives you an opportunity to just have them connect and bring things down, focus on the positive. And if they want, they can share it with the group. We do a lot of circle teaching in our school, so that's something we integrate everywhere. Cool down circle. This is a neat thing where you just have 3 or 5 volunteers, leave a stretch, do some basic anatomy if you want, yoga or stretching routines, movement reflecting or drawing. So if you have some paper or you have whiteboards or whatever it is, post-it notes, you can have kids to just quickly do a little sketch. How does your body feel right now? What animal do you feel like? Is there like, get into metaphors, whatever it is, and they can just stick that photo, if it's on a post-it note, right up to your board. And on that same board, you can say, you could have a love today, didn't like today, and they could put their picture along that scale. So now you got 2 assessments within 3 or 4 minutes. This is my new favorite one. I love this, called the slow motion game. So as you're playing the game, you say, okay, if you're running, you can only walk. And then they have to do that. And then you slow it down even more. And you slow it down even more until they're moving like super slow motion. And they're like, oh, what's going on? So it's kind of like dialing the speed back. And then you have them sit down, have them lie down. You can take them through a 3-minute relaxation breathing. They'll be totally wiped out. Then you have them line up, and then they're ready to go. Younger kids love this. Raw cooked spaghetti. Basically, you're going from cooked spaghetti or raw spaghetti to cooked spaghetti. It's a muscle relaxation, but for those little kids, 3 or 4 rolls of that, same thing. They'll be so ready to go back to class. Then I just want to highlight a few for our grade 3 to 6s. Okay, so I have another resource that has slightly different ones. And I'm just going to highlight a few of these. Okay, so the first one is movement corner stations. So I used to do this with my teams, my high school and my junior high teams. So on the board, you just draw the gym with 4 rectangles in the corners. And you have them give you some activities. Today we did push-ups, star jumps, jumping jacks, and what else did we do? I think we did burpees. But then between each, you can determine a way of moving. So for example, in the grade 2, they have to slide. That's one of their movement cusps. So they have to slide from 1 to 2. Then they could hop, then they could run, then they could jump. Whatever it is, you can embed those movement patterns in. And now you're evaluating those cusps just in warm up, right? So there are efficient ways to get through it. I like that one a lot. Truck and trailer, again, if you don't know it, send me an email. I'm going up to Black Diamonds on Monday, and I'm doing a 90-minute session on that one activity, truck and trailer. It's so good. Triangle tag, if you don't know triangle tag, check it out. Awesome. Especially if you need 4 groups, 4 teams after, because it takes 4 people to play triangle tag. You have them number off 1, 2, 3, 4, all the ones to the right, 2s to the left, 3s at the front, whatever it is. Now you've got warm up done. Kids are cardiovascular. They've interacted with each other and they have teams. That's a touchdown in my books. Skill development. Instead of having kids run laps, give them the equipment. Right? Give them something to do with it. Get them serving right away if they're doing volleyball. Get them into small groups and playing a small game of some kind. Little younger kids up to, well, let's face it, probably up to about grade 8, their muscles and ligaments are still pretty loose. So if we can get any cardio into them, we get them warmed up. We don't have to do it just by moving around the gym. Add-on relay, this will be the last one I talked about this. This is just fun for teachers. So have everyone on a basketball court on the sideline, whole class, and you have them jog to the other side. Okay, next time you're going to add 2 jumping jacks, let's say. 2 jumping jacks, run to the other side. Then you add like a 180-degree jump, 180-degree jump, 2 jumping jacks, run to the other side. So you continually add on something each time. And what happens is that after 10, 10 times, you can get them to do like 15 jumping or 20 jumping jacks. You can get 10 crunches in there. You can get 7 laps across the gym. Right? So this is just one of those add-on relays that is awesome. Kinsey, if you don't know it, again, send me a message because that is by far the best warm-up game ever. Captains, I don't have too much different here. So one thing here is that pre-made teams in from grade 4, 3, 4 to 6. Nothing wrong with making your own teams, even if they're doing work. What are the not magnets? If they're doing just laps, colored teams, number teams, all nothing different there. As the kids get older, they can think quicker. They know how many letters are in their name. Right? They know what their middle initial is. They know what their birthday month is, which isn't always the case in kindergarten and grade 1. If you are doing that, mix it up. So instead of doing like January to March and then breaking it up that way, you can go January, February, November, December. You're a group, right? So you can constantly mix up those things as well. And yeah, nothing different there. Wrapping up class. With the older kids, there is an opportunity to now go back to that journaling resource that we have now, and actually pull some things out of there. Give them 2 or 3 minutes, maybe even 4 minutes, 5 minutes to actually sit down with the journal and actually write. Have them tell you like what's holding you back, what's a goal. Maybe they're doing a fitness challenge like we talked about last month, where you do a minute worth of jumping jacks. They write that number down, and then you say, okay, in 4 weeks, how many more do you think you can do? Have them check in. Are you willing to practice outside? Stretch and reflect. You're going to see a lot of reflecting in here, because what I'm finding with my junior highs is that the more they talk about their experience, the more they want to do better. Right? This is also where I'd have them move their magnets around the board. Like, how do you feel? Like, where's your energy level? Did you participate? Did you get better at skill? How many people did you help out? The other one that I like in here is the team reflection. So there's a really powerful technique that involves a group going through these 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What could we do differently? What could we do? What could we do differently? Still a few typos to fix. The big thing is that students can't ever talk about any other kid. So if a student says, what worked? Well, we talked to each other and we played good defense. Next round, the kid says, what didn't work today? Well, it didn't work that I was open half the time and never got the ball. What could we do differently? We could come up with a signal. So if I'm open, I could say it. You could give me the ball and we could work as a team. And you go around the team for every question. And it's short, but it's always about their experience. And what happens, this is a great way to build empathy in your groups. Anyway, so that is the resource that I've put together. Once I write the introduction to this, I will be sending that along as well. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'm just going to get through out of this, this, and this, and this, and we'll head back to this. Okay, draft pro, yeah, lessons I've learned from the resource. Good. All right, so we're actually, it's perfect timing actually. So usually what I do here is we'll just take a quick 5-minute break. And because we got someone else join us. No, okay, no, good. We'll take like a 5-minute break. Not even like probably about a 5-minute break. Just got to give my voice a little bit of a rest. And then when we get back, I'll stop the recording. And if we could, we'll just go on camera and unmute our mics. And if we could just kind of talk about what we're doing, what challenges you have and what your thoughts on these are, then we'll kind of probably wrap up in about half hour, 40 minutes after that.